Folks, we back again. Creative Financing with JB. We got a very interesting show this week, a very detailed show. We're going to be talking about reverse mortgages. So many people have heard about them. They have asked questions. It's negative connotation. This is going to be a 2-week series. I got to be honest with you because it's so much information that I can't even share it in one segment. I really can't do two, but I'm going to try to cover a lot of the points that need to be covered and need to be discussed here so people can have an understanding what's happening out here. What is a reverse mortgage? Why do it exist? And, what's the benefit of it? So many questions, and remove the negative connotation that we known it to be. People taking out houses, the bank want the houses. I want to say one thing right now. The bank do not want your house. The bank is into banking, but they're also into making profit for homes as well. And when they out there doing that, what they have to do is make sure they manage that in a proper manner for it. Do we fall on hard times when we having mortgages or rents or investment properties? Absolutely. But guess what? It's always checks and balances that we need to have here. It's always things that we need to have in line so we can make sure that everything's working out and going for the good, that our investment is protected. I want to ask y'all one question before we start these reverse mortgage questions. If this was your money, how would you manage it is the question. How would you manage it? What would you do for it? And what are you trying to do with that money? A lot of folks utilize and get to the point where they feel that the bank has a lot of money and they can do this and they can make exceptions and stuff. If they start to make exceptions for everybody, they would start losing money. It's a normal business, folks. It's nothing outside the regular. Do the banks mess up? Absolutely. Do humans mess up? Absolutely. But in this process of everybody messing up, the question is, how do we get to the path to redeem ourselves? This is not taking advantage of a situation or whatever. So we're going to come with this reverse mortgage theory. Reverse mortgage has been around for a long time, and reverse mortgages is intended for people to utilize their equity in their homes prior to transitioning this life. And if they don't have anybody to leave in their home to, they allow the bank to go ahead and make that decision. But the bank contacts that next of kin so they can be able to discuss that with them. They can be able to talk about, hey, you have a year to purchase this home back and take it. And our first question that we're going to really talk about, what exactly is a reverse mortgage? How does it differ from a traditional mortgage? A reverse mortgage is it's almost exactly like refinancing. It's the owner of the property have paid into this loan that they have for a certain period of time, or they have paid it off, and they get to the point of where they need money to be able to live, or their lifestyle will be able to afford that living. And that could have happened through the loss of a spouse that they were expecting their income. It could have been through just retirement or pension. All that stuff could have happened. The difference in a reverse mortgage and a traditional mortgage is that reverse mortgage is giving you the money and it's accumulating interest over a certain amount of years. The traditional mortgage accumulates interest over a certain point of years as well, but we're paying into it. With the reverse mortgage, we probably have paid into it and we have enough equity that we don't have to pay into it no more. When it's finished, the property is going to have a value that's going to be equivalent to how long we live. A reverse mortgage is a mortgage that allows us the ability to utilize that income for basic living. It's a line of credit that we're using prior to transitioning, prior to going to our next stage of life. On a traditional mortgage, you get a mortgage, you have a monthly payment, and you start going over and over again. With a traditional mortgage, you have the income to suffice making that payment as well, and to be able to captivate and make sure that you keep up with the on-time payments for it. So all traditional mortgages is doing is being able to pay and pay and pay until you pay it off. Reverse mortgage, you done paid into it for so many years. You have a great amount of equity in that property, and now you're in your golden years. You're able to use it for things of travel, enjoying, medicine as we face in this economy now, with that medical plan, just basic home needs, and going from that standpoint. Our next, and we're going to transition to the next question, which typically said, who typically considers a reverse mortgage? Anyone that's 62 years of age or older can consider this type of mortgage. So what happens is when you have a reverse mortgage, one of the guidelines is the age of the individual. If you're not at least 62 years of age, you do not move forward with a traditional reverse mortgage for it. And what you have to do is, once we put those numbers in, and we have a chart that we put them in, and we base a reverse mortgage up to age 99. So anybody from 62 on up, that's who we base our reverse mortgage on. And we go from there. And we have so many different steps in this process that it can't go overlooked. It can't be downplayed to where, I'm 62, I'm going to get all my equity at one time. We have to accumulate for interest over years to age 99, taxes, insurance over that time. And we have to see that if we're going to be able to, and we'll talk about this later on, a LISA. You'll hear us talk about a LISA, which means that they collect for your property tax and insurance over the time period from age 99. So if you're 62 and to 99, so we're going to think about collecting over 37 years of that time frame for when we do that, and that's going to be so important for it. And folks, this is just for it. What are the basic eligibilities for this requirement? You have to have a reasonable amount of equity in your home. You have to be at least 62 years of age. We have to input the taxes and insurance, and we have to see what amount of equity we're going to give you to last over that period of time, to go to the length of the mortgage, to the length of lifetime for it. So those are basic eligibility. So when somebody's asking you to fill out an application to do a reverse mortgage, I want you to be prepared to have your insurance or insurance statement, declaration, and invoice. I want you to be able to have your mortgage statement for it. I want you to have your property tax statement for it as well, and basic photo ID to verify your age, so we can start the process. Those are the basic things we need to start when we start seeing, because we do a assessment to see if you qualify before we even apply for it. Is credit an issue? Credit's not an issue, but we do tell you that based on your credit, they can require you to have a LISA, which means that they hold the property taxes and insurance for that property for as long as they need for it. They will do an appraisal on that property to make sure that property is in good standing. This is in the FHA loan. So you have to keep in mind that when they're doing those type of things here, you probably have to be in good shape, and it's got to be manageable. It has to be in working condition, livable condition. Can property need work? Yes, it can need work. But if we have other obstacles like the roof needs to be repaired, and we have holes in the wall, or the seems like we have water leaks, our plumbing issues, those are things that we need to address. And it's possible we can work out a plan to have some of that work done when we are funding the loan for that reverse mortgage, and go from there. At what age does a reverse mortgage start making sense? That could be a loaded question too. So reverse mortgages can start making sense at age 62, depending where you're at with the property. Where are you at with how much you owe on your property? Do I still owe a lot? Do I have a lot of equity? Is my house almost paid off? Some people said the older you are, the more sense that it makes. I said the more equity you have on the property, the more sense that it makes. So you have to keep in mind that whatever equity you have in that property, it has to be enough so we can utilize it over the time for it. So if we put an age on it, you can be 62, you can be 67, you can be 70. It depends on the need of the person too. Are we looking to do a monthly payment for a reverse mortgage where we can just add to our living expense? Or do we just want to do a payout? You do a one-time payout, get the money, and then we can utilize it as we see fit for it. If you get that one-time payout, you get it one time. You can't come back and say, well, I wanted to do it again and take some more money out. You can do it, but you'll be doing another reverse mortgage, and it's almost like refinancing a reverse mortgage, which can get very interesting based on the equity that you have left in your home. If you have enough left in there to do it, you have to do it. You have to keep in mind that it's fees involved with this too. It's bank fees, is loan origination fees, it's taxes. All that information will have to be disclosed at that time of you doing this reverse mortgage. So you can start making the decision when you see feasible. For people say, well, if I got a lot of money, does it make sense for me to do a reverse mortgage? It is tax benefits to doing a reverse mortgage if you're already situated in a good situation. That's something that we would have to call and have a conversation about to see where you are, see where your tax bracket is, to see how this can benefit you in a positive way for what you want to do. Because you can always pay off a reverse mortgage too at any point in time. So you have options there. This is not one time you do it and that's it. It's still some motion that you can make while you're doing the reverse mortgage. What you're going to do with the reverse mortgage, what you're going to do with those funds, and how are they going to impact you to fit those times that you need. Folks, we suffer with some people that suffers with getting money for medicine, basic food needs, for property taxes, as we see, went up in here and during this time, and people had to make that adjustment. So reverse mortgages can help in those situations where we can relieve ourselves of that monthly payment, get some money out of the home, and then still have our retirement, our pension, whatever, if we're retired, to do that and go from that standpoint forward. How much money can a homeowner, potentially access? That's a loaded question as well, But if we look at where we at and give you a rough example, if I have a home worth $300,000, for it. I don't owe nothing on it. I have enough money to where I can pay my property tax and insurance every year. I would estimate to say 150 to $175,000 for it if we don't have a mortgage on that property. But that would have to be done through our pre-assessment to look to see where we're at. Because if we don't know where we're at with it, we can't do that. We're just speculating like I just did now. I'm not putting this as a hard answer of saying, yes, this is what it is, but this is a possibility of it. We only know through the pre-assessment of what we're going to do to where we're going to be with that reverse mortgage. The reverse mortgage is nothing but a home equity line of credit if you want to put into effect. But the only difference is you can't pull that, you can't recycle that money like you do with a HELOC, home equity line of credit here. You can do that. And it's based on how much you owe on the property. If we have to pay off the loan and then give you the money, that can make a difference as well. Please take into consideration here when you're doing this, is some requirements too. We still have to have a next of kin. So when we doing reverse mortgages, it's no more we're getting somebody of age that meet the age qualification. Say, hey, come on here, do this reverse mortgage, get this money. No, we always ask for their next of kin so they can have that conversation with them, so they can talk about the process of what they're doing, how it's going to work, what's the benefit for them, and how they can utilize that money in a positive way. Are we doing it? Some people get it so they just don't have the mortgage payment. Some people do it to suffice their salary. It depends on the need of the person and what you're doing here and how you're doing it for it. I'm going to repeat again. The bank does not want your property. The bank does not want to take your property. The bank does not want to own your property. They want to lend on your property. And in return, they have a interest to make a benefit on it, which is through interest that they gain over the years on your property for it. So the amount of money you can access through that can be a wide range, but we only know it through the pre-assessment stage of where we're at and what we see. So many things can happen in that. How does the homeowner receive the proceeds? Lump sum, monthly payments, line of credit, or some combinations? That's a great question that we're asking here, because there's so many different ways that you can receive that money. You can have one lump sum, which is common. What does that mean? We come in, we perform the assessment. The home counselor performs the assessment with you, which they go over our loan application that you have done, explaining the benefits and the positives and the negative of a reverse mortgage. So that's something I want to explain too, is that they explain the benefits of that reverse mortgage, what that reverse mortgage does, how is it beneficial to you, how much is it possibly you're going to get based on that. Do you have somebody that you want to own your home after you have transitioned or passed away? Those questions stand out tremendously, so people know that if this is a right decision for them. People know that if it's a benefit for them. They understand that, hey, it might be some ups and downs. I might want to lead this to my daughter, but I need some money now, and go from there. So I tell folks, if you're contemplating about having money to live, talk it over with the family. Your daughter, your nieces, your nephews, whoever your next of kin is, your sister, your brother. Have that conversation to where you can discuss what's beneficial in that situation. If you feel that you need a lump sum of payment because you just want to pay off all your debt, have this money sitting to the side in case of emergency, and live on what your income is and you feel you can make it, that's great. You would get a lump sum of money. Monthly payments is like, I need to subsidize my income because it's that low. I can't afford every month to pay my all my bills and then have money left over for going to see a movie, or if I just want to go get something to eat, or I'm budgeting just for food allowance and stuff to that effect. Those are perfect times to say, hey, I might need a monthly payment. Line of credit means that you'll get a portion this year, 60% this year, and next year you'll get another portion that you can use for when you're doing this, we call it a HEC, a home equity conversion mortgage for it. So it gives us a time to use some this time because we're going on, we're in retirement. We might be doing a business adventure. And we might only need a little bit to start that up to keep this thing going during our retirement. And then money start coming in, but you still have more money coming next year. Folks, be mindful that you have to call to get that money off. So if that don't happen, that money stays there and it's gaining interest for you. It's growing. And then as it grows, you take it as you want to if that happens. We have had some people that get a portion up front, and then next year it comes time and they're good, they don't need it, but their money is still accumulating interest as it sits there. So you might have $100,000 sitting there and you might not use it for the next 3, 4, 5 years. It's gaining interest while it's sitting there. It's not sitting there domicile and not doing anything, but it's moving in a manner that allows you to continue to make money on that money. And folks, if you got questions, give me a call. You can reach me at 302-312-9860, or you can email me at Johnnie, JOHNNIE, at creativefinancingwithjb.com. I know that's a long one, and that's Johnnie, JOHNNIE, at creativefinancingwithjb.com. That gives us a chance to sit down and have a conversation, talk about it, see what you're really trying to do, see where you're trying to be. This might not be it for you. You might need a HELOC instead of a reverse mortgage. You might just need to take out that line of credit and you can continue with the payments because you're going to have other income coming in to suffice that. It's so many different scenarios when that comes that you don't limit yourself to one thing. For it and understand that. So these combinations that we have for the proceeds comes at the end. Folks, they're going to do an appraisal on the house. Somebody's going to come there and review your house just like a normal appraisal, a FHA appraisal, to make sure you're in a good space for this. Never do we want to lend the money to someone and they need all this work in the house, and next thing you take the whole money and put it on the house, and then they stuck and they're still in the same type of situation. That's why we have to review the circumstances. That's why you got to give me a call. We got to talk to see how we can do it. The county might have some programs where they can help you with fixing your house, or they can help you with maintaining, or have a senior program available for that, to get this done. All those things are vital to know when you're doing this, but I don't want you to perceive that just doing a reverse mortgage is just going to help me just fix up my house and I'll be good, but you have other expenses you need to take care of. Our next question came up, does the homeowner still own the house after taking out the reverse mortgage? That is the $1 million question. That is it right there. The homeowner still owns the home. The homeowner still owns the home after they take out a reverse mortgage. The bank does not own the home. As you get a regular mortgage, you're still the owner on the home. You're still the owner on the deed. That is the same parameters. Nothing changed. We don't record a deed to take you off the deed or none of that. If you run into somebody that's talking about you doing a reverse and they taking you off the deed, that is not a reverse mortgage. A reverse mortgage deals with being able to own the home, utilize the equity until you transition without a mortgage payment. Don't never perceive that you're not the owner of the home no more. What happens after that is to keep in mind is you transition, your loved one is there. They have a time from 8 months to a year, depending on the bank, to just refinance, pay that back so the home can still stay in the family with that generational wealth. It'd be the same thing if you had a mortgage on the home. What happens after you transition? You gotta maintain that mortgage on that property, and it's the same thing that happens. The only difference is you're gaining some equity out of that, and your loved one that probably transitioned is using that to enjoy some things that they never got to enjoy before. Giving them a chance to have those vacations that they wanted, fulfilling their bucket list. Everybody has a bucket list, folks. Everybody has things that they want to do in their lifetime, and sometime at the age of retirement or job downsizing, you're retiring or something to that effect. So on that bucket list, you want to live and do some things that you haven't done, you want to do. You feel that before anything happens, you have to do it. I fulfilled one of my bucket lists. I went on a cruise. All these years, I went on my first cruise. I enjoyed it. I told my wife, this is one of the best experiences I had. I wouldn't mind doing it again. It meant so much to me. And going from that to see that's what happens in life when we get to this age. But folks, we own the home. We keep in the home. The bank does not want to take your house. The bank wants to be able to make sure that if you need the funds and the money to continue to live a normal, decent life, you're able to do that. And reverse mortgages is the same thing that we have here. They are so beneficial to us over time. We see a lot of people that's not able to fulfill their dream of living their best life. Why? Because they don't have the money. They probably don't, not in a situation to go. Our retirement age is at 67 now. And when 62 used to be the age where you could get it, and now you're penalized and you're facing a lot of different things. But this gives us the opportunity to work through some things that we need to do, that we want to do, and we feel the obligation to. Doing it. So you'll still be on your deed until the day you transition, and hopefully you have a will of who you leaving that home to, so they can go ahead and make a decision to take over that home, refinance and get it back, so they can enjoy part of that as well. The keynote part to this whole situation is, if you want to leave your home after you transition to somebody, you should have a will. You should have some type of trust set up, something to that effect, to seek an attorney's guidance on that, so you can know how you transferring that property to the next generation, if it's the next generation, for and protecting the people that you're transferring into credit. Let them know that it's important to always protect your credit when you're dealing with situations like this. Hey, I have a reverse mortgage. I want to leave you this home. When something happened to me, you're going to have a year to refinance to do this. This is why I'm doing this. That's why we have the education that the counselor comes from the reverse mortgage and they talk with you. We're not just doing a loan and then you just going on your own. Somebody else has to speak with you, have to walk you through that, have to give you decent understanding, elementary basic understanding, that you know what's happening here and that you're not shell shocked. That you know that somebody has to prepare that on your transition to go ahead and refinance this home back in your name. Folks, it's another piece I'm gonna put there. If somebody transitions without a will or with a will and you're in probate, we have to wait that 8 months. Because a lot of banks won't refinance it until that period is up. It's called the claims period that we talk about, and you'll hear them say that when you're doing a loan. We want to wait till after the claims period before we do this refinance. And people might say, "Why? What difference do it make?" The difference is makes that we need to make sure that that homeowner, that transition, if they have any debts or bills or any open accounts that need to be satisfied, it can be satisfied. And they have the means to satisfy it through the equity in the property. It would be the same thing if you had a regular mortgage as well. But folks, you got to reach out. You can email me at johnny@creativefinancingwithjb.com, or you give me a call, 302-312-9860. Start talking about how this can be beneficial for you. Don't look at it like it's a downplay. You're losing everything. You're losing control. You still have control to it, and that goes there. Goes from there. What happens to your existing mortgage if someone gets a reverse mortgage? My existing mortgage has to be paid off at closing when I'm doing the reverse. It has to be satisfied on the property. So when I'm getting a reverse mortgage, they are in the first lien position. Not the second, not the third, the first lien position when you're doing this. So they know that they're going to be the ones in position to get the money that they owed after they done gave you that money out and paid for you to do the things that you needed to do during that time. Don't think that that existing mortgage is going to stay there. It has to be satisfied. It has to be paid in full, so you'll get a satisfaction letter. And folks, if you don't know how that happened, give me a call. We can go over the process of explaining that, in full detail of at 302-312-9860. We want to explain how that works in the transition of stuff. Because remember, I told you we're going to want that mortgage statement at the beginning when we're doing this. We're going to want to get a payoff. We're going to want to know how much it is that we have to pay off. That's part of the way we value how much money you're going to get out of there, how much money is left in there, and go from there. So that existing mortgage has to be satisfied with the county. You'll get a paid in full letter. That'll be your first step to understand that that mortgage is going to be done and clear and free, and the reverse mortgage will sit as a top priority with the county that you're in on record. Don't believe that once you satisfy that existing mortgage that you're going to get all these other mortgages to put on there, because we have a reverse. They have been talking about a reverse second, but that's a story for another day. For when you start to deal with those type of questions, those are so instrumental for our baby boomers right now that's out here trying to live their golden years and make it happen. And folks, we've seen what happened to health insurance. We've seen what happened to our economy, where some people were challenged to be able to afford just the basic livings. Our homeless have been increased and stuff, but we could have came to this resort and thought about how we deal with it afterwards. Or talk to our family. We have to have conversation with our family how we're going to manage these shortfalls, how we're going to be able to take it, because with mortgage rates and having a mortgage on there, and you just have Social Security, and some of these pension plans have been dissolved. We have lawsuits standing out there where it's some of these pension plans, there's no money in it. They don't exist anymore, because the people live so long. They exhaust the funds, or the investment that it went into probably dilapidated, or it lost money on a market, and we're stuck. I encourage people to get a financial advisor, to have those conversations with them to where they need to be at retirement, to start thinking about, how much do I need to live? How much do I need to survive? What is the amount that my basic bills be able to help me cover in this whole thing, and still have a basic form of living? Am I going to sacrifice during this time? What fees and costs should homeowners be aware of during this process? Folks, we talked about the LISA, which is the taxes and insurance on this property. If it's a HOA, we have to include that as well. We have to include loan origination fees. We have to include appraisal fees. We have to include processing fees, interest fees for the new mortgage we're going to get. So you have the basic fees that you're going to have on here. In this reverse mortgage, you're still going to get a loan estimate. You're still going to be able to analyze what it's going to look like for you, and to make an informed decision. You have to be able to do that. And how do we do that? By having these documents available and sitting down and discussing them, talking about them. You're still going to have title fees for it. So those fees are going to be evident to that, and the cost to do those fees is the cost of doing business for it. So those fees don't go away. They stay, and they're there to stay, so you can keep going on. And the people that's doing the work behind the scenes to make it right. Folks, if you have judgments, outstanding judgments, any type of liens, or property HOA liens and stuff, those do not go away before you do your heck up for it. So those have to be managed. Your properties still have to be managed as well when you're going the reverse mortgage. Just because you have a reverse mortgage don't mean you stop cutting grass. Don't mean that you don't make sure that the roof is in good standing condition, because the insurance company have to be able to keep insuring that home. Can you file an insurance claim if something happened? You can. Make sure that's done, but you still have to maintain and do the due diligence on your property that you need to do. Don't walk away from the property and just think, hey, I'm in a reverse mortgage. I'm going to be okay with this. Still maintain the home. You're getting funds from it to do it. You don't have a mortgage payment. You don't have a property tax or insurance payment. So still do the things that makes that thing a home, that makes you be able to love the home, be able to manage the home, and keep it going forward. Because in this whole process, if you get a lien or something on that home, that can affect your longevity of extra money owed to your loved one that's trying to purchase that home when you're done, when you transition, when you in life. So they're going to be stuck with that and talk about it. That's why you still stay talking to them. You continue to have those conversations. You continue to walk through those steps of dealing with the home, the plumbing, the paint, the carpet, the flooring. All those are important in maintaining the doors, the painting, the kitchen, the cabinet, um, and have those things in good working shape. Maintain a maintenance man. Consider having a maintenance guy that come to help you with that. Does the interest on a reverse mortgage compound over time? There is an amortization schedule for a reverse mortgage as it gains interest. Just like I was just talking about, your money that's sitting in there that you might not use is gaining interest and it's accumulating. The same thing is done here with this reverse mortgage. So when it's going over time, it is accumulating interest over that time but it's going in a negative amortization way to go backwards. So that money will be calculated when somebody goes to refinance to pay that off for it. It's still collecting interest. Like any other mortgage you have, it collects interest. Your mortgage that you have that you're paying every month, you're still paying monthly interest. It don't stop because you got to a certain point. It just continues to go until you pay it off, until you're able to have it. For all the folks that's out there that pay off that mortgage and don't need it, shout out and hats off to you. It is important that that is done for it. That is important that they're able to know that that this does happen over time, and it just keeps going. Understand that with this interest that's accruing, it's accruing based on what you need, just like everyday interest. Everyday interest, anything you do accrues. Grocery prices go up, everything goes up. But for us to manage the way of living is based with the price there. So we will have interest on a reverse mortgage compound over time for it and go from there. But as I said before, if at any point in time you feel that you can pay that reverse mortgage off and you can go back to a regular standing mortgage where you can make a monthly payment, you're all free to do that. That is something that I can recommend, that is possible. But I wanted to deter the misconceptions, and we're going to talk about it more next week, of the misconceptions and the things that have discouraged people from doing reverse mortgage, and the bank's taking my house. I want to leave something for the kids. They're going to have something. Folks, keep in mind, if you leave that house for the kids, for it, they still got to maintain and do the maintenance for it. You still got property taxes. You still got insurance that need to be paid for it over time. All those things happen. The question is, are they really ready to maintain and handle those situations when they come apart for it? If that's the case, I tell people, if that's the case, they don't want to, and you need that money, ask your children or your loved ones, whoever you leaving the house to, hey, can you help me? And you just pay the mortgage until I transition for it, so I can have the money to just do some things that I want to do, that I need to do, and just live a basic life for me to get that done. That is key to us being able to go to the next step of what we're doing. Don't let it deter you, because sometimes it can seem like a hindrance. That it's so many bad things that can happen and go there. That money that you take out on a reverse mortgage, you can reinvest it. Reinvest it, let it gain interest. Let it do something and let it work out for you, for your good. Don't let it just say, hey, I'm gonna do X, Y, and Z. If you wanted to compound interest or gain some interest, it's other investments there. That's why I recommend you get a financial planner. You get to talk to them and you get to illustrate to them what it wants to be, how you want to do it, and what you hope to happen. and hope to happen over time, for that to go. And they can guide you through that perspective. They might tell you a reverse mortgage ain't good for you. For you should try to change your living. They might tell you just sell a house, and gain the money and go and live someplace, but you're still paying rent. You have to sit down and analyze the whole situation, because if we just take pieces of it, we don't get the whole concept of what we're doing here. We don't have the understanding of how we're going to manage during this time of life that we need to really talk about it. I was just looking at somebody here, and we had the conversation that their co-payments on their medical, on their medicine that they get is $400 a month. That's an expensive expense to have, that you got to come up with when you're going to get medicine, which affords you the ability to live. So if that's the case, how do I overcome that situation? You're going to need support from your family for one. If you can't do it, you're going to need to go out there and get a part-time job or something. If you're capable of managing that a few days a week to manage that expense, or you're going to have to consider a way to maintain that lifestyle so you can keep going through that process. I'm hoping that you find other ways of staying off the medicine so you don't need it and you can keep going on over time without that medicine, because it's a true reality, folks. As prices go up, our life's changing every day now. Even in the grocery store, as we see it, even at the gas pump, as we drive to places, even, we're going to see buses go up. What the dollar store is now $1.25, and some things are even over $1.25. Those are so many things that are transitioning right now that we got to sit down and say, whoa, this is a lot. How do we get it to be where we need to be and get it to work for us? So folks, don't count it out. Don't go by the misconcept. It said, can a homeowner ever end up owing more than the house is worth? No. When we're doing this calculation, it's a series of numbers that we go through to think about estimated lifespan and taxes and insurance and all those things. That's why it's a certain value you get when you do a reverse mortgage on that property. So we can make sure that it's not upside down based on that. Because remember, I said, folks, the object is not for the bank to take the house. It's for you to keep the house, manage your living, and when you transition, that your loved ones be able to take it over. We never want to see a reverse mortgage as a short sale, because that means that we lost the value in the home, and now that we're going back all the way to square one with maintaining that. We protect the reverse mortgage, work towards protecting that through the amortization schedule, and you'll see that how the interest accumulates over the years and where the biggest years are and how it starts to happen. But you have to keep that in mind when you're doing these type of loans and you get into this type of loan. We don't try to exceed for it. Take it for granted we can have a 2008 type of situation again. If we have a 2008 type of situation, then we have an issue. We have a serious issue here with that. And what we need to do is figure out how that happens. We don't look for another 2008 situation where the market just collapsed and everything dropped and the values of home was outside of the normal. But what we look at is the ability to maintain the home, have the home, keep it in the generation or in the family as long as we can, and keep it going on. Somebody should prepare themselves for that and go from there. And that's what we want to that's what we want to take into consideration. It's not to have an upside down situation. We don't want anything to end up upside down when we're doing this stuff. And folks, keep in mind, reverse mortgages is only to help you financially during the distressful time of maintaining your income for it. We have some folks that, they're planning to retire at 72 and the job just stopped. The job market is done. They got laid off, they're going to get severance pay, but what happens to the future? What happens to being able to continue to maintain that living that you need to have over time? And it's just basic living. It's nothing extravagant. It's nothing outside the normal. It's a basic living principle that we have here. So we have to use what we have to get the best situation to continue to move forward and living and understanding why we're in here. I see so many people say, "Oh man, I would never do a reverse mortgage. A reverse mortgage is not beneficial to us. They're taking homes in our community. But what I'm going to do is put the home in my son's name and keep going and stuff." And that's a wonderful thing. But understand that you're doing that frees you up to have money, and then you'll be able to live. And that's a whole goal right now. If that happens, you're able to live, you're able to maintain, you're able to have that good style of living. It works out perfect. This is not a time to take advantage or hold people hostage. You don't have no money. You better take this reverse mortgage. No, that's not what we're talking about. We're talking about making sure you make the best decision, the best way out of what you're dealing with, being able to continue your medicine or get off the medicine during this time frame and eat healthier, which can be more expensive to be able to, if you have a car payment, to keep that car payment and the maintenance on that car, because remember, you could have been working until age 67, or some people work to 70 or get a part-time job. And if they're not able to do that, they need to come up with money to maintain the basic things they have. But get you a financial planner. Get you somebody that can break down where you need to be at, what you need to be doing, what needs to be happening, and where it's going to be at. It's not going to do you any good to be in that situation, to struggle and to go through a big transition of not being able to afford it. That's what we need to start thinking about. That's what we need to consider right now when we're thinking about this reverse mortgage. And folks, I'm just a resource guy out here. I'm just a mortgage lender trying to provide you with results. I'm not hoping that you have to go to a reverse mortgage, but I want to provide you with options so you won't get into a situation of default. We have seen people that almost owning their house and they can't make those mortgage payments because something happened and they start to get in default. And guess what? The bank's going to take the house then. That's a whole different story, that the bank's going to take the house. They're going to go ahead and resell the house and make a bigger profit than what they have, what they have been making. And then instead of you getting some of that equity, don't have no mortgage, being able to live on some of the equity you done paid for over years. And go from that whole standpoint. Or, you might think about selling it and going in there and renting again, or going to live with the grandkids or the children or the other family members during this time that you're facing. All those are substantial reasons or ways out of this, but never think you're out of it. Never think that you have no other options during this time, because we're in a volatile situation and an environment right now. We see things just going up, more homes going up for foreclosure. Somebody told me Delaware's #1 in foreclosures in the United States, which is, it's disappointing to see our friends and family in that situation right now. But we need to provide some type of resolution to that problem. And you might consider something like this. But reach out to me. Let's have a conversation. Let's talk about ways to manage this process. Let's talk about ways to see how you can stay in a good situation with your mortgage situation, and that you won't fall into default. Let's look at options for you to have the money you need. But first of all, folks, I'm not a financial planner. I don't claim to be, but I want you to understand that those folks are valuable during this time. If you're younger in age, still talk to them. You don't have to be in the baby boomer age where you looking at this stuff, but you can be in that time frame preparing for your golden years. So you have to start thinking and talking about this stuff. We gotta have a lot of young folks that done bought these houses recently, and guess what? They need that education. They need that understanding of what they can do to stay free from that, what they have not done. And knowledge is the key right now. Knowledge to understand what you have to do over the time of this. But reverse mortgages, folks, is not a bad option depending on your circumstance and situation, depending on where your financial goals are and what you're faced with, depending where your pension and social security is and your other debt is that you have, and the home, the maintenance of the home, and to that effect, because if you go out there and rent, folks, look at this, rent's going up. Rent's not changing. They're not getting less for it. You go into assisted living, it can be expensive. It depends where you're at in your life, with your walk, or what you're doing. Reach out to me. You can reach me at Johnnie, JOHNNIE, at Creative Financing with JB, and that's CreativeFinancingWithJB.com. So we can touch bases. We can have a conversation, or call me 302-312-9860. It's time to just get understanding, knowledge, what we need to do. Next week, we're going to continue to deal with some of the misconceptions. We're going to start talking about numbers and how it rolls into that effect. We're going to start talking about how it works when you start the process. What's your first step? What kind of conversation we're going to have? Is it going to be a hard conversation? Going to be no. First thing I'm going to ask you, and I want y'all to prepare for this. Have we talked to the family? Have we included the family in on this conversation? Some people might say, no, I don't want to include my family, and that's understandable. That's acceptable. I can honor that and in going through it. But I want to make sure that I know that your family knows the situation you're in, and see if they can assist during this time. Because during your transition, somebody is going to be able to benefit and maintain that house, to keep it within the family and maintain that generational wealth. Folks, man, I enjoy my conversation with y'all every week. I'm always going to provide you with the resources, tools necessary to keep reaching out. As we work on reverse mortgages, part 2 next week, we're going to have that conversation, and we're going to get excited about it. We're going to be able to uphold it and talk about the things necessary to get it done. Folks, thanks again. Until next week, this is Creative Financial with JB. Understanding that reverse mortgages can be the benefit to you, but look at the resource that it provides to you. Have a great evening and talk to you next week.